Good morning and welcome to our presentation on Behind the Bar, tips and tricks for RFPs. We'll go ahead and get started. So just a little bit of level setting on who Patrick Henry Creative Promotions is. We have been in business for a little over 30 years now, and Patrick was kind of the pioneer who established this niche beverage marketing piece that we do. I think one of the things that sets us apart from other agencies like ours is that everything that we do is deeply rooted in operations, and all of the people that you see standing here today with me, as well as all of the client-facing team members in our office, come from an operations background. They have come up through hotels, through resorts, casinos, bars, restaurants. So everything that we develop for our clients already has that operational lens, and we ensure that the programming we're developing and the strategies that we're developing will work in real-world situations. So this is who you are meeting today. I'm Michelle Fawcett, Chief Marketing Officer for Patrick Henry Creative Promotions. We also have Erica. You want to introduce yourself? Sure.
Hi, I'm Erica Poole. I'm director of our brand marketing department. So I work with different suppliers to help you guys achieve your goals and get noticed by on-premise accounts.
Cheryl Stenko, director of meeting and events. I plan events for our retail clients as well as our supplier partners on different trips, and we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Dowda. I'm the Director of Beverage Innovation. So I work on mixology, some training, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about a recipe database that we have available through PHCP.
Good morning, Kurt Moody, Director of Beverage Operations and Training. I take most of this programming and strategy and work with operators on how to implement and train it in the field.
So typically we look at our services in 3 different buckets. We have our marketing bucket, which is just that, so helping to create specific programming that is going to be guest-facing and drive initiatives forward. We also have our operations bucket, which is just that, operations, making sure that the programs we develop in our marketing bucket are executed at the field level. And then, of course, as a part of being in the third-party niche is the partner support that comes along with it. This is a snapshot of our current client list. So one thing to note on this slide is that the way that we work with each of these individual clients is very different. We don't have a cookie cutter model. It's definitely solution oriented, and scope related for each of the accounts varies. So we may work with someone, a good example would be Hooters, who we help them manage their program really from start to finish, almost acting as their director of beverage in our capacity to help them strategize, articulate what their bar program is relative to their overall brand strategy, all the way to someone like maybe Cracker Barrel. They have a very robust internal team. They manage all of their own strategy, and we help them with the financial piece. So it runs the gamut from that full service example all the way to very limited service. So that is that. And then we also, we've been privileged enough to be awarded Supplier of the Year from some of these clients, and we're very proud of that. One of our internal mottos is, your success is our success. So we are all, as I said, hospitality people, so innately that's what we like to do. We like to help people be successful, and that's how we feel great at the end of the day. So on our services, when it comes to the marketing bucket, are some things here. So the strategy development, program and menu gap analysis, incentive programs where legal. We do have the ability to partner with other suppliers to help with that piece. So we love to tap into our non-alcoholic partners. Sales tools, so helping you guys revamp maybe your decks, revamp sales sheets, work with you to make sure that whatever you're presenting to your clients when you're in meetings with them, you're speaking to them about what it is that they want to know about. So oftentimes we see that our supplier partners bring information that's sometimes not as relevant to the operator as it could be or should be. So we have worked with a number of suppliers to kind of go through their decks, go through their sales tools, and help them revamp them to make them more dynamic, to make them tell the operator the story that is most important and most relevant for them. Content development, so whether that's ideation or any of your marketing pieces, we do have a full suite of creative services. So whether that's new logos, branding, menus, any kind of point of sale, display merchandising, booths, all of that. Photography, brand launch kits. We work a lot with our supplier partners when they have new brands and they want to launch those to the on-premise segment, and developing something unique and creative that they can then send out to operators. Of course, meeting and event planning. And I think as you've seen over the last couple of days, our team is amazing at planning very well thought out, very well organized events. Trade show booths displays. There were a number of booths that you've seen yesterday that our team put together for people. So if there's ever a need, whether it's for Vibe or a trade show or something like that, we're able to help with that production as well. And customer relationship management programs. It's specific for on-premise retailers. So helping you manage birthdays, new baby gifts, any kind of item that you might need to help keep you top of mind with your clients, as well as concierge services. So that would, yes? Do you have a question?
No, I was going to just ask.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm good.
No, I was going to make a comment because I think you did a great job of stating about the idea we don't need to customize the products to the retailer. This is something I think is y'all really want to learn, and something they can really help y'all with, because when you're in the bar, you're just going through shopping approach, you're seeing so many things. It's hard for a retailer sometimes to visualize that in their concept, and you want to separate yourselves from whatever else is being out there. So their team knows the concept, and if you get them involved in helping them to customize it, you're going to stand out in those scenarios.
Yep.
She's right. There's so many people that just walk in with standard sales stuff, and then you sit there, well, it looks good, but how are we going to, how are you going to apply it to this concept? So
Yep. Exactly. Thank you. Do you want to come finish? You can come speak for me. It's perfect. So from the operational lens and the operational bucket, we've got staff assessments. So you may not have time to go, say you have a big RFP meeting coming up, and you may not have time to go visit the concepts and do secret shops or private shops on that. So our team can take that over. Our team can go in and assess from a staff level, can they make a drink with 5 steps, or do we need to keep it to only 1 or 2 steps? So all of that goes into us creating ideation as well. Content development, so that's what the training piece is on, whether it's from scratch, maybe they don't have existing content, maybe it's revamping existing materials. Our team can help with that as well. Program rollout and implementation, so training at the front line, pricing studies, trend research, training tools, and then we'll talk a little bit more about mixology and our Nectar online recipe database in just a few minutes. Okay, so this was the example that we wanted to present today. So in this example, our partners at Outback sent out an RFP. So they're going to be asking our supplier partners for program gaps and opportunities. They want ideas for limited time offers for summer seasonal, winter seasonal. They'd like to see drink development in this case, so they want to see a couple of recipes. They want to talk through any unique flavors or trend profiles that they're missing on their existing menu. Something they provided, the potential new flavor opportunities or profiles that they're looking for. And then additionally, we see this coming with RFPs all of the time now, is they want to know how you can support training and, of course, backing it up with industry data as well. So I am going to pass this over. So this is the first step.
All right, so initially after we get this RFP, one of the first things we need to identify is, one, what the current menu is at that client, what the competitor menus are, and then what the industry trends are. So we're going to start with just a traditional menu gap analysis, which you see an example on the screen. We're going to break it down by cocktail category, by primary spirits or primary flavors, modifiers, price range, so we can identify and be sortable. The beverage operations side of our business is very analytical and very spreadsheet driven. So as much as I can make into a quantitative analysis on menu, we're going to take that approach first. So along with relying on industry trend data from Technomic, IRI, Nielsen, any type of trend research that we can do. So you can see through this example RFP, we look, and the cocktail style category that there is a gap or an opportunity in is this classic tiki or punch category. Spirit types that are under indexed would be flavored rum or spiced rum. Mixers and modifiers that aren't up there are pineapple and guava, passion fruit. Key flavors, summer citrus, coconut. And then the menu pricing and a COGS target is going to be around 8 to 10. So we know as we start the next step in the process where we want to be catered directly into this client's wheelhouse. Again, being concentrated on what exactly they need, not exactly what we're just going to present in a sales deck to multiple clients. So after this, we're going to start ideation within our brand teams.
So one thing I'd like to add is in advance of this part, we've already had the conversation with our supplier partners. So we also understand from them, of course, what's in their portfolio and how that aligns with the priorities that the supplier has, and then, you know, how that's going to fit in with what the operator has asked for.
Okay, so starting with the gap analysis and the competitive set analysis, and also keeping in mind anything from the RFP asks and the priorities that we all discussed, we're ensuring that anything we develop from here is all solution-based. So next step would be us collectively brainstorming custom program ideas that fits the RFP ask and all the findings that we've discovered thus far. So in this instance, we identified a summer LTO program playing off of tiki-inspired cocktails, flavored rums, all things that we identified in that gap analysis and things that the operator is directly looking for. And then pushing this forth through rationale, again, supporting this through the claims that we've made on the gap opportunities, competitive set, and then also what's going on in the industry with trend data, showcasing that tiki is on fire, that this is what guests are looking for. These tropical Caribbean flavors are perfect for LTO summer features through these specialty drinks. Then you'll see that we are creatively showcasing this in a custom template that is in that look and feel of the account that we're pitching to. So we have the correct logo on there, and then taking things a step further with our creative team and bringing to life the program through spec art. So if the account typically features their cocktails on point of sale, like posters and table tents, through different drink photography, showing that in their brand's look and feel, so the operator is able to see your brands working cohesively with their brands and showing that you did your homework and that this was truly developed for them. So although the main bones of the program is very, very turnkey, easy to execute, there's also ways that we can kind of blow it out a little bit more. So how can we think about cross-promoting on social media, driving guest engagement, maybe also looking at national programs and national holidays, leveraging National Rum Day during this same summer timeframe, thinking about a custom hashtag to drive guest engagement, maybe asking them to go on their social media, post a photo of the drink that they are enjoying. Maybe they get a chance to be reposted on the account's social media page. Also, we talked about training a little bit. How do we help educate the staff and get the staff behind the program to help drive those sales? Because supporting on that store level is very, very important as well. And then potentially even culminating into an educational trip through with the general managers. Of course, we're legal, leveraging non-alcoholic partnerships as well, to really bring to life the program in a full 360 way.
And then this is the fun part. We take all of this and we make cocktails. So we look at that gap analysis and we look at the operator. We go and we sit and we see what people are drinking, but we really want to develop cocktails that can be added to a menu immediately. So we look at the glassware specs, we look at the mandates, and we develop cocktails that the operator could take this exact cocktail and put it right on their beverage menu. So we wouldn't recommend something with too many steps. We wouldn't recommend a Ramos Gin Fizz for Outback. So we know what their guest is going to want to drink, and we know what their bartenders are going to be able to execute. So that's one thing that's really important for us to do, is to make sure that the recipes that we're developing for this is specific to that account. Sometimes we'll see in RFP meetings a cocktail that we saw last week that was for a different account. We want to make sure that everything is geared specifically to the account we're working on then. And then we've got Nectar, which is our recipe database. So once we've developed the cocktail for you, you'll be able to go online. You can see the cost information. You can see the method. We've got a few different formats that you can download the recipes in. So one has the cost margins, and then, excuse me, the other one will have training instructions to where you can put these directly in a training booklet and give them to your bartenders, and they can execute the cocktails.
And then lots of times the RFP doesn't just end at presenting the cocktail or presenting a new product. We want to work with the client on how we can benefit both their team members at a store level. All too many times RFPs get presented and then, proposed. They take it and they say, awesome, we're going to run this LTO, and then it's kind of hands off from there on. And then a month later, we walk into the restaurant and the LTO that was agreed upon isn't being sold properly by both frontline team members or supported by management. So what we can do is everything from a manager implementation or rollout guide all the way down to server and bartender cheat sheets that highlight the importance of the program, importance of the LTO, but also, as you can see in this sample, there's tip calculators that show that server, what does one more item, what does one more of these cocktails do for me? Also in that manager side, help on inventory. What is the product number? Who in my region do I order that product from? What's the distribution on the mixes, making sure that we take care of everything from a manager so they don't have any questions that bubble up of, hey, I can't get this, I can't figure out whose house this is part of, all the way down into coaching, best practices, and shift meeting role plays. Almost all of our clients have a pre-shift meeting. What's that demo calendar to make this drink, to have the bartender sell it to the servers, have the managers really bump up on making those employees comfortable in selling this program to a guest.
And then when that light rum or rum distillery is in the Bahamas, you can have your top selling GMs go to a trip to the Bahamas, and the event team can help you plan all of the details for that, building the agenda, the budget, activities, booking the hotel, setting up a meeting to make it an educational component, as well as booking flights, doing all the on-site event execution, and, above all, herding the cats so that we make sure that you can enjoy the time as well. We can. We've got a registration site as well, Cvent, which most of you went in to register for the event that we had this week. So we can use that to collect all of their information, confidentiality purposes, collecting, their passport numbers, all of that information through Cvent, and then we would help arrange the flights.
I think also one of the things I'd like to add here is that we understand that alcohol beverage funds typically, they can't be used to incentivize. So working with our team, working with the accounts, non-alcoholic suppliers, we bring that together so that we can offset the things that beverage alcohol funds cannot. Flights, hotel room nights, things like that. So, just in summary, some of the things that we've identified as best practices for our supplier partners to put their best foot forward would be really custom tailoring your presentation to that specific account. I think that that's probably the number one thing that you guys should be doing and taking away from this is that putting in the extra time to make sure that the account knows and feels like these ideas, these drinks, whatever it is that you're presenting, that you did it just for them, and it wasn't just the deck that you worked on the plane and switched out the logos. That's really, really important to James's point earlier. And be sure that what you're presenting is really solving for what they've asked on the RFP. We've seen, many times people kind of disregard what they've given you and don't address the things that they've asked you to address. So make sure that you're not just going in sales pitching, that you're actually helping them solve for the things that they need.
And part of that also is actually going out and going to that business. Too often we sit through RFPs where you can tell that the person presenting hasn't set foot in that client's bar or restaurant in the last 6 months to a year. So it's not just understanding the RFP ask, but also having a knowledge of what is currently going on in that business.
And this one is really important, this number 3 one. Ensure that the presentation is in line with the RFP guidelines. If they've asked you to keep it to a certain number of pages, make sure you do that. Put everything else in the appendix. If they've asked for specific cost margins on things, be mindful of that. Nothing upsets an operator more than if they've asked you to follow specific instructions and you disregard. I've actually seen people get kicked out of meetings for that same thing. So think outside the box. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know, maybe you're really going for Cinco de Mayo and bring in a mariachi band at the end of the meeting, bring in chips and queso. Think outside the box. Think, especially when it comes to these supplier partner meetings, which people will take like a week or so, and they'll have the round robin and the speed dating of supplier after supplier coming in. What's going to set you apart from the other 40 people that are going to be meeting with them this week? Our team can help you ideate and strategize around how to make your presentation or your meeting stand out. And of course, make sure you follow up with any post-meeting asks. If something came up in the meeting, make sure that you're actually doing the work to follow up and get back with people. And then show value. Be a true consultant. The best suppliers that we've seen are the ones that it may not always benefit their business, but they're real with the buyer that they're talking to, and they will tell them, you know what, this brand probably doesn't make sense for you anymore. It's in my portfolio. I would love for you to keep having it on your list, but it just doesn't make sense. So sometimes you have to take off your sales hat and put on that consultation hat, and guarantee that's going to help your partnership long term, and they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that it wasn't maybe in your best interest, but it was in their best interest.
Speaking of being a consultant, how much do you guys value in RFPs the category management aspect, where we might provide a lot of data and kind of insight and strategy as opposed to like practical, like, hey, this is the issue, this is how we can help solve it? What role have you seen from suppliers with like category management, and how do we help shape the strategy for different retailers?
So
Piggyback on that question, is there a lot of redundancies that you guys see, same data, et cetera?
Is it kind of like, we know the strategy, like how often does a retailer not understand who the guest is that's walking in? Because we do a lot of research that says, hey, your guest is this type of person, and then this is how we cater to that guest. Mm-hmm. Is that redundant, or do you think we should just get right into the meat and potatoes, or what do you think is the most valuable that you've seen?
One, from a data analysis, I think it's important to absolutely be the business consultant. That sometimes it's a tough conversation to let them know, your strategy for this RFP or your strategy right now says this. we've conducted these independent studies, we've had boots on the ground, we've had this data analysis. Before I get into this, I'm not going to, say how wrong you are, but I want to help be a strategic partner, and it would be against being a strategic partner if I don't let you know that this is also what we see. I wouldn't have that be a large chunk of the presentation within an RFP. I think something like that could even be outside the RFP or included in the addendum, but you're absolutely right. Part of that category management is having them, specifically for beer, they might say, I need to bring in 3 new IPAs, a New England, a regular, and a new American style. Well, the data might not show that your client or your guest base needs all 3 of those. And here's where we're at before I get into my presentation on why I'm presenting that. So I think there's times where you can not necessarily go against the RFP ask, but at the same time re-inform your client as a business partner that I understand your ask, I still did it, but also here is some data that shows that maybe the way you looked at this in the beginning might be skewed.
And I think to answer the question on the consumer insights, it's going to vary widely by account. Some people have really robust analytics teams and some people don't. Like, for example, Buffalo Wild Wings they have 50 people working on analytics for them. They've identified who their core. They've done numerous studies with multiple outside agencies to identify who their guest is by different people. They have, right now they have 3 different guests that they kind of look at. But someone, maybe a smaller, more retail or just not as big of an account, they might not have those insights. So I think you have to be really knowledgeable about who the client is that you're presenting to and working towards that. And then also, when in doubt, just put it in the appendix. You can always put extra information in there and say, Jamie Carowin at Buffalo Wild Wings, I know you have a really robust analytics team, but we also did this study. And if you'd like to see what our team came back with, it's in the appendix.
And I also think that can also, if it's that important of a discussion, it's not even at the presentation. It could be, hey, I received this RFP, Jamie. I wanted to share immediately with you what our team sees so that it becomes even I didn't wait for it because I thought it was so important to where you wanted this direction to go. So here's our information that helps support your strategy. Did I say?
Okay. So going back to the slide on some of the capabilities, the idea of the customization of the RFP and your products. Can we? Okay, that. This area of opportunity is an area that they excel at. This is something that if you're going to participate in an RFP and you're one of several other suppliers that have a limited amount of time with a buyer or whomever you're meeting with, you want your products to be differential and stand out. And too many times we're seeing stuff that just comes in from the supplier's marketing, but it's not customized to the brand. And if you're looking at several products over multiple days, it's hard to always visualize how to apply a particular product to a concept. But if you walk in with a concept that is basically customized, or you can give a visual of what your brand looks like within that brand, it goes a long way and it'll help stand out and hopefully be able to get a follow-up.
Thank you, James. So also adding on to that, we understand that you guys often have really robust marketing teams internally, and they're creating programs and ideation. A lot of time what we see, to James's point, is that these ideas are either more geared towards off-premise or they're geared towards just kind of general market. So we're able to take those ideas and make them into something that will apply specifically for saltgrass or Bahama Breeze. So oftentimes we can use those ideas or those assets that you may already have to springboard and make it custom. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yes.
So that was some good questions on those analytics because that is a delicate area of an RFP. I do think the conversation up front, if you see something coming across that maybe looks a little bit skewed, it's better to probably have that up front, because in those RFPs, you never know who else is in those meetings. And so it might be somebody else's vision, and then if you walk in and present something that may be correct but still different from their vision, it could be kind of awkward. So I do think it's important. There's a lot of data. I mean, I get to see tremendous amount from multiple sources, where I think this group, whether you're a supplier or through the PHCP team, where it's beneficial is being able to show what you're doing to currently market to that particular consumer. Most of the concepts should know who their consumers are. However, as we know, the industry continues to change and evolve. And a lot of people that have been involved with brands, sometimes even for multiple years, they have a vision of what they believe is what the consumer drinks. But reality is, because the industry is changing so fast and we continue to develop new brands, products, they need to see what you are doing to market to that particular individual.
Thank you. Any other last minute questions?
Just about wine education and training. It seems like you guys have it nailed when it comes to cocktails and mixology, and all of us that sell wine as well are constantly, trying to find ways to collaborate, coordinate, work with the agencies such as yourselves, and just help the operators make it easier to train on wine too.
So we do have 5 level 1 sommeliers within the office, and 3 of them are here to get it today, myself, Rebecca, and Kurt, as well as a couple other people in the office. So we have the ability to create that content as well and make it very easy and digestible for casual dining or those frontline team members, and help with those educational pieces. I don't know that we would probably have the ability to probably go toe to toe with like a master somm or something, but yes.
And for the bulk of the clients that we work with, it's important, one thing, to one, know how to pronounce it, know how to describe it to the guest. But as we see more and more, it's how to sell it, but also pair it. It's the age-old, red beef, white seafood chicken. But really what we do is take those specific menus, and we'll work on training cards, back of the house posters, guest check inserts that work specifically with a menu item on that client's menu. From everything with taste to aroma to finish, and then how does that recipe card work? So you saw like the example of the cocktail recipe card. So one of them is a training mode, to Bex's point, that talks about how to execute it. Well, a training card for a wine or a beer would talk about taste, aroma, finish, origin, ABV, IBU, for a wine, alcohol, ABV. But really, how does that work with the LTO? Because something like this example RFP is probably rolling with a summer LTO seasonal food menu. So as we launch that wine, that beer, that cocktail with that seasonal wine menu, how do we interlap the training so we get the most bang for the buck for the client during that LTO period?
Tie the two together. So if you can get a comprehensive approach where the beverage ties into the food, especially on an LTO, it'll go a long way. Wine, beers, and cocktails, absolutely.
Like, hey, I got this RFP and I know that I want to present these specific wine brands, but I do want to approach this in a more 360 way, and I want to listen, and I want to also present a beer, and I also want to present a cocktail. We can go through and working together with their existing partners, help you bring that together.
So everyone obviously is looking at training and education. Obviously, the workforce is tough right now. Where do you see a lot of these training materials living? So like the checkbook, I feel like is getting thicker and thicker. You know, how do we, if we're living inside there and we have all the server training material, if everyone kind of does that, then the server book's going to be, you know, this big. Where do you see a lot of these coming to life? Is it videos or like, I like the back room idea. That one's an easy one, but where do you see these kind of coming to life?
TikTok. If you think about these short videos,
Interesting.
you know, if you have someone's attention for 30 seconds and you're showing them how to pour a beer correctly or how to open a bottle of wine, how to shake a cocktail, but you've got a limited time frame, you know, so walking through back of house and seeing a poster that is a reminder of how to do all these things is great too, but TikTok, short videos.
We literally created a TikTok with training.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on what that client has, because it's some of those what that client has. You know, some of our clients have pure online training where it's an independent site. Some of us are old school paper training, paper validations, going to an employee file. It really depends on what that client's already basis of training is, and then how can we improve on that? To Bex's point, someone like a Delaware North, their bartenders have a YouTube channel. It's a closed YouTube channel where we upload Bex making a cocktail, and then all of their bartenders can go in and watch her make that seasonal LTO cocktail. So it's one of those items of, if they're old on paper, maybe we show them what the new age is, because it is a digital world and it's a very short attention span digital world.
If anybody has any other questions, if not, I think that will conclude.
Many hours I abused, many days, many nights without her. And after all is said and done, it all added up. And after all is said and done, she said enough. Guess that is why she said goodbye to my sleeping heart. I watched her go, her restless soul. As my sleeping heart, away, my sleeping heart, slipping away. In a mind without the gold, the prize I couldn't see was sleeping next to me. But she had better things to do than hang around with the fool. Sorry, love, I didn't mean to bore you. And after all is said and done, it all right on. After all is said and done, she said enough. Guess that is why she said goodbye to my sleeping